Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, Namo Buddhaya. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, including myself. So I hope all of you, thank you Brother Tom for that very heartfelt introduction. I really enjoy motherhood and also mother to all our brothers and sisters here. And I hope all of you had a very peaceful, very calm and serene Buddha Day observance. We just finished our Buddha Day observance, and it was really uplifting and inspiring after 3 years of Zoom, meeting each other on Zoom. So today we are going to continue exploring our theme from Buddha Day to next Buddha Day. We will be exploring this theme, living a meaningful life. And what is this to be a meaningful life? It is so vast. Everybody has got different meanings in their life, but today we are going to explore a little part of it, which is being in the present moment. And what is this being in the present moment? That is bringing our minds to our body, being aware of what is happening in the now, in the here and in the now. And this being in the here and the now leads us to having one of the well-beings. There are 6 well-beings which we try to inculcate and bring this meaning to our life. And one of that meaning, well-being, is mental well-being. Yeah? So what is this mental well-being? Mental well-being is one of the prerequisites. As you can know, a lot of this world is now inundated by mental illness. I understand even to get an appointment to see a psychiatrist, you got to wait 3 months. And if you're lucky, 3 months, maybe even longer. So that is the amount of mental illness or difficulty people are facing in their lives. So this is mental well-being is one of the necessary prerequisites for a happy and meaningful life, as well as we walk the spiritual path. So you can ask, what is this well-being? What is actually well-being? So what is well-being? Sister Joanne, what is mental well-being? Joyful living. Brother, what is? Brother with the blue. What is mental well-being? What is your understanding? Strong mind, positive thinking. Okay, very good. So, if someone asks us what is mental well-being, let's look at some of the things that we can think about. So the first is, when we have mental well-being, our mind is free from unwholesome states. There is no anger, there is no greed, there is no jealousy, there is calmness and peace. So one of the things you can check for yourself whether you are having mental well-being at the present moment is there is no unwholesome states of mind. I'm sure if you look into your mind now, you open your mind door and you see, oh, there is calmness, there's no unwholesomeness. Yeah? So this is one way we can check. Another way we can check whether we have well-being is we develop this understanding of the 3 universal characteristics. In our life, there is these 3 characteristics of life. There is everything that comes and goes is of a temporary nature. It is anicca. We call this anicca. Second universal character is dukkha. Everything is not everything, but things that don't suit us, we call it unsatisfactory or dukkha. And the third universal character is there is no self involved. If we can understand, develop this understanding, then it will lead us to mental well-being. And the third thing we can think about is When we have mental well-being, when all these 8 worldly conditions, when we meet with the earth, 8 worldly conditions, we are calm and there is a lot of clarity in our mind. We withstand the difficulties. What are the 8 worldly conditions that arise is, first is gain and loss. Gain also, we sometimes get overboard. People win lottery for 1 million, after 3 months they bankrupt already because they do not know how to maintain how to handle the money. So even there is gain or loss, we have this calmness and clarity about this. The second is where there is praise. You can be praised, you can be blamed. Yeah? Then you can have fame and be famed. One time people are famous, another time they can be not famous anymore. Or you can have happiness or unhappiness. So when we meet with these 8 worldly conditions, whether it is good or whether it is not good, we still maintain our calm and peacefulness. So this is another measure of our mental well-being. And again, we integrate good values into our life. So by being understanding, more patient, more accepting, more joyful in our lives, so we integrate good values. As we get rid of our unwholesome mental states and we integrate good states into our daily living, then we have mental well-being. We are more grounded in how we approach our life. So one of the fundamental factors is this. So when we have mental well-being, we will find balance. Whatever comes our way, we are balanced and we live positively. Even if there are difficulties, we find positivity in our difficult life. And also because we are positive, we can overcome, then we live a meaningful life. So mental well-being is one of the very important foundation for our practice. So, living a meaningful life. At one time, the Blessed One, the Buddha, was living in a forest called Paruadi. And there was this man by the name of Hataka. So Hataka was taking a morning walk in the forest. Then he came upon the Buddha sitting on a pile of leaves in the forest. So he went up to the Blessed One, he paid respects, and he told the Buddha, he asked the Buddha, Bante, after having paid respects, and he sat down and said, Bante, did you sleep well last night? Did you all sleep well last night? Did you all sleep well last night? I'm asking you all a question. Did you all sleep well last night? Yes, very good. So the Buddha said, yes, I slept well last night. And he said, I am one of the few who have slept well last night. So you all are very few of those who can sleep well. So let us find out why. So Hataka asked the Buddha, but Venerable Sir, he said, Bhante, you know it is winter now, it's so cold. The floor is so hard because that is the route. In the summertime, all the cows, the herdsmen will bring the cow along this route and the ground is very hard. Then, the leaf where the Buddha was sitting is very few because you look up, it's winter, all the leaf all no more already. So, there's no leaf, there's no protection. And then you also wear very thin clothes, the robes are so thin. And then the wind is blowing so cold. He said, how do you sleep so well, Bhante? You slept well. So he was very surprised that the Buddha can sleep well in this kind of condition. Do you think you all will sleep well? If it is so cold, the floor is so hard? No, right? You all got comfortable bed last night, that's why you all can sleep. I'm sure the aircon is on full swing. So, and the Buddha said, yes, I slept well last night. He said, then after that the Buddha asked Hataka, he said, okay, now I ask you a question, you answer me, because he already asked 2 questions of me. So he said, Hataka, he said, let's say there is a person and he has a very comfortable home, he's got everything nice, warm, bed, he got 4 wives to look after him. not one, four. He said, do you think he will sleep well? Hataka said, yes, but then he will sure sleep well. No? Then the Buddha asked again, then Hataka said, if this man, his mind is, that day, that night, his mind is troubled by greed. Let's say he is greedy for something, or he is overcome with lust, or he is facing anger in his mind, he is burning with anger because there is something that is disturbing him. Do you think he will sleep well? Do you think he will sleep well? No, right? So Hataka said, no, Bhante. So the Buddha said, you see, me, the Tathagata, he said, he didn't say me. He said that Tathagata, the one who speaks the truth, he said, the Tathagata has removed all these roots of unhappiness in him. He has obliterated them, he has cut it off at the roots, uprooted everything. So I am one of those who can sleep very well in the world. I'm sure there are days you will reflect back on your own life. There are days that you will toss and turn around because there's something troubling us all the time. Correct? Don't bluff. I'm sure you all have one. Only thing you want to agree. So all of us have these days when we have a lot of problems going on in our head, and we will twist and we will turn, and then you see suddenly alarm ringing and we have to go to work. So the Buddha said, all of us we want to be happy, right? So in order to be happy, we want success. Success gives us happiness. Okay? So when we are successful, we are happy. But besides this worldly success in our life, there is another thing the Buddha said, that ultimately, besides all this worldly success that we are all looking for, there is something else that the Buddha said, which is a form of happiness that is unshakable, that is very stable, that is very, very unmoved by anything. And that kind of happiness the Buddha asked us to cultivate. Constantly the Buddha's teachings is about cultivating this kind of happiness. Worldly happiness is very, very, very important for us. Success is important, good family, all family well-being, economic well-being, interpersonal well-being, all these well-beings are important. But more over and above these well-beings, the Buddha said, this well-being is important, mental well-being, and that is inner peace. And that is what the Buddha has found in his life, that inner peace that takes him on this very meaningful journey, and we are also learning the Buddha's teachings. So when our mind is protected, our actions, all our actions, whether bodily action, whether it is a verbal action, whether it is a mental action, all actions will be protected. If our mind is protected, then the Buddha said this actions that we do is not rotten, Otherwise, the action is rotten, the speech is rotten, the mind is rotten, the Buddha said, and it will not, it will be corrupted. Our actions are corrupted, our thinking is corrupted, and even the speech is corrupted if the mind is not protected. But when it is protected, then everything else is protected. And he gave a simile, the Buddha gave an example of what this protection is about. We all live in our homes, right? We all live in house, right? Try not to, don't live in tent. So, when we live in a home, the most important thing about a home is got a roof, right? Correct? Our house got a roof, Imagine the roof got lobang everywhere. What will happen? Especially in the rainy season, it will pour into our house, and the house will be, floor will be rotten, the walls will be destroyed, all our things will be destroyed. So the Buddha gave this simile of a hut. Those days, they don't have a roof like we have now. They have a thatched roof. Thatched roof they make from leaves and from palms. They thatch it and they weave it, and then they make a roof out of it. And they have to make it so, the touching has to be so good that the water cannot go through. So it's like that. So today you go and look at your roof, if you see leaking, then you look at the floor, gone already the floor. The ceiling also got one big patch. So this is what the Buddha said, when the mind is protected, like it has a very good roof, then everything under it will be protected. So that is how important mental well-being. When I first bought my first house, then everywhere leaking. There was a time it was like pouring like a waterfall, you know. And I'm looking at it, I said, how am I going to carry it? So I had to get the contractor to put in metal sheets because everything doesn't work. So I had to put metal sheets in order to protect. So this is how we can protect. So protecting our mind is like having a roof. Now, when we are physically sick, all of us have been physically sick, I'm sure at one time or another. When we are physically sick, we go and see a doctor, right? Doctor gives us medicine, doctor gives us treatment, then we come back, we take the medicine. Sometimes we also take very nutritious food, double boiled chicken, you want some herbs, whatever we do. And then our body gets back to normal, in fact better than normal. Then we take more vitamins, then we feel very comfortable. But what happens if the mind gets sick? What are you going to feed? Double boiled chicken soup? What are you going to do with the mind if it gets sick? Have you thought about that? No, right? So if the mind, when the mind gets sick, what are we going to do? And we have to know why the mind gets sick. What actually happens that the mind gets sick? Have you ever wondered why the mind is sick? The root cause of mental illness, the Buddha said, is these three roots of evil. The Buddha said, these three, when it takes root in our mind, then we start having mental illness, where there's excessive greed, there is aversion, and there is delusion. Greed, I think we all can understand, right? Greed is something that we want. I want something that we desire, like and crave and hang on to. So there is a kind of greed. Aversion is we push it away. We don't want. I don't like this. I don't like this experience. I don't like what I am in now. I don't want this. So it's aversion. It's pushing away. One is towards me. The other is away. I don't like it. I don't like my neighbor. Very noisy. You know, I got an opposite neighbor always complain about the dog next door because he said he cannot stand the dog because a lot of the dog's feces, very smelly. So he always complains about the dog next door. So I don't like the dog. Until so much so he had to buy another house and he moved up. Lucky for him, he got a bigger house and he went for a way. So delusion is everything else. Don't know anything, just existing in the world. So this is the cause of mental illness, three roots of evil. And then, when we have these three roots of evil, along with it, it arises because we have wrong view, we have ignorance, and then not only we crave for it, but we grasp on, we hold on very tight to whatever we want. So this is another cause of mental illness, leading from the first root cause. And eventually, the result, it will result in anxiety, having conflicts, loneliness. Even loneliness is a kind of a mental illness where there is a lot of people around us, but we still feel very lonely. We don't have connection with people. Our house got many people, but we are still very lonely. Inside we feel empty within us. So there is grief, lamentation, and then domanassa. The Buddha said mental suffering, domanassa, dukkha, domanassa. So this is the cause of mental illness. So if we have this mental illness, how are we going to treat this mental illness? So this is the root cause. It is not that the boss scolded us, or our husband has been forgot to wish us Valentine Day, Or is it he forgot to buy you a bunch of flowers, or your wife didn't cook your favorite food? It's not that. The root cause of our mental suffering is this greed, the aversion, and the delusion, not knowing the real things, what is happening in our life. So, knowing that this is mental illness, let us do some case study. Case study, I cannot talk about my story, I cannot talk about Tong's story, or Brother Tong's story, or Sister Joanne's story, because there is. So we'll go back to the Buddha's time, and we will check out two, life history, life story of two people who had this kind of mental problems. From daily living, they had mental problems. So the first is a person by the name of, by the name of Angulimala. Have you all heard of Angulimala? Many of you have heard about Angulimala, right? So Angulimala was actually a very good child to his parents. His name was actually Ahimsa. Ahimsa means non-harmless. Non-harmless. Ahimsa. So when he was of age, his parents sent him to a teacher. Those days they didn't have Kebangsaan school. They didn't have Chinese churchy school or whatever good schools, private schools. All their children, the parents will send the children to a teacher. Then the teacher will teach them all whatever the teacher knows, for example, manners, virtues, science, mathematics, and those kind of stuff. And then in return, the student will stay in the teacher's house, and then they will help the teacher to maybe take care of his field, household, and do service for the teacher. That's how they learn service. So when we do Buddha Day, I think a lot of you have done service. So this is one form of service. So there is no payment, fees. Now you must pay fees, right? Now nobody want to have children because fees very high. You have to pay. The school fee is very high. They're all scared to have children now. So those days there's no school fees. So what they will do is they will exchange. In return for the teacher giving them knowledge, they will serve the teacher. And the parents also will give at the end of the school or the completion, they will give Guru Dakshina, that means an offering to a teacher. Let's say the parents are farmers, they will give produce from their fields as an offering to the teacher called Guru Dakshina. So this Angulimala went to stay with this teacher. He was a very intelligent and very, kind person. He was a very good person. But there were students who were so jealous of him because he was so intelligent. And he was very good friends with the teacher's wife. He can make friends and then he helped her with the housework. So the wife liked him very much like her own child. But the students who were there, they were very jealous. And they didn't like him, so they wanted to pass on him, So they go and whisper in the teacher's ear, this Ahimsa, I think, so like that they whisper to the teacher, I think he was something with your wife. So the teacher also didn't pay attention, and he got also angry with Ahimsa. And then at the end of the session, when the teachings were over, he told Ahimsa, he wanted to get rid of Ahimsa, he said, okay, now as a repayment for my services for teaching you, I want you to go and get me 1,000 fingers. If I ask your finger, you want to give me brother? Brother Tong, you want to give me a finger? Nobody will give him a finger, right? So he said, teacher, how can you ask me to get finger? Nobody will give finger. The teacher said, I don't care. You go away. Because that is the tradition. You have to pay whatever the teacher requests. Requests are not demand. Requests at the end of the school session. So Ahimsa was in a fix. What is he going to do? He cannot go and manufacture, right? He cannot make order, put a Google order to Lazada and say, please send me 1,000 fingers. So he didn't know what to do. So he ran into the forest and hid there, and he see people passing by, he'll catch hold of them, chop their hands off, and he will have to kill them. Of course you have to kill people, right? Nobody is going to give you, so people show struggle. So in the process he killed people. He became a murderer and he became a robber from a very kind and a wonderful person became a robber and a killer. Can you imagine his mind state at that time? He wants to be kind, but then circumstances have become in this way. So, at the end, the last, he wanted to kill. His mother knew that the people started complaining. He asked the king. Now we go to the police station, make report. Those days you have to go to the king and tell the king, you please do something about this robber. So the king personally was going to send his troops to catch a single robber because he was so feared. And then his mother was so overcome. Mother's Day today. You see the mother? The son so cruel, so wicked, so become a robber and a murderer, but the mother's heart cannot stand that her son is going to face difficulty. So she ran into the forest to warn. Mother, very hard, very kind. Mother's heart is so kind. And she went into the forest, and Uncle Himala was so hardened. His mind was in a state of delusion. He even was prepared to kill his mother. He said, the last one, 999, he said, go one more. I'm going to kill this mother. Even he never think it is his mother. But the Buddha, through his vision, he saw Angulimala was in this dreadful state. And if he carried on this matricide, they call it matricide, if ever anybody kills the mother, or father, or an Arahant, or wounds a Buddha, or creates a schism in the Sangha, that karma will never leave them, even if they are Arahant. It will come and follow them to the very end, as it was in the case of Mahamangalana, who was the chief disciple of the Buddha. And he was a psychic, he was very pronounced in his mental powers. Even in one far distant life, Mahamangalana had killed his blind parents. Both his parents he killed, both of them were blind. He killed his own parents because the wife couldn't tolerate them anymore. And because of that, until his last life, even though he was an Arahant, he was beaten to death. Venerable Mahamangalana. So that is the grave difficulty if one kills a mother and a father. Will never end on. This karma cannot be overcome in any way. You have to face it right to the end. So Buddha knew that this Angulimala was going to create this very heavy Garuka karma. So he said, the Buddha went to the forest, talked to Angulimala, and he brought him back to the monastery, and he became a monk. So, by practicing, overcoming his mental illness that was plaguing him from being a very good, kind person to becoming a robber and a murderer, then he overcame and he became an Arahant. So we can see from this that how circumstances in our life can create this kind of mental stress and torture for us. So that was one case. Luckily we met the Buddha. But now we are also very lucky because we got the Buddha's teachings still available to us. And we can still learn, still available to us. How lucky are we? Okay? So that's one case study. The second one is that of this lady called Patachara. Her case is even worse. She was a daughter of a rich family, very rich family, and in those days they protected her very well. They didn't let her go out. Everything they kind of did not let her enjoy certain things. So she became very frustrated, and then she fell in love with the servant, a man, the manservant in the house. She fell in love with him, and one day she ran away with him, eloped to another place, and then she, from a very rich lifestyle, now she became the wife of a very poor man. Life was very tough as a wife of a poor man living in a village. So one day, as time goes by, she became pregnant and she wanted to go back to the mother's house, as is the customary in the Indian tradition. That you see, even the Queen Mahamaya, when she was carrying the Bodhisattva, she was going back, she wanted to go back to her parents' place to deliver the baby, Bodhisattva, Prince Siddhartha, but halfway she delivered the baby. So it is a tradition in Indian custom that the first baby, usually when they conceive and near delivery, they will actually go back to the mother's house for their confinement. Mother will take care of them. So again, happy Mother's Day. The mother is so kind and always take care of the children. So, what happened to Patachara? She wanted to go back. Then the husband pleaded with her, darling, please don't go back after, he's a servant. He goes back to the master house, I want to take the daughter away. What would his reception be? So he pleaded with her, please don't go. And by the time she also delivered already. So, okay, he didn't go. After some time, she had a second child. She was pregnant with the second child. And again, she wanted to go back. This time the husband said, okay, never mind, go back. But on the way, while they were traveling to the parents' home, it was raining very heavily at that time. And it was almost evening. Then the husband said, I'll go and find some firewood for us to make a fire. And off he went, left the wife, pregnant wife with the other son. Now, while he was looking for the firewood, he was bitten by a snake and he died. And the wife waited, Patachara waited and waited. Can you imagine her mental state at that time? Where is this man? She'll be complaining, right? You see, I'm so cold. Can't you see I'm pregnant? Don't know where he go already. And then she worried. I don't know whether he's safe or not. At the same time, care for the husband. So she was in this mental turmoil. Dawn, the sun came up. Don't know where the husband went inside. She looked around and then she walked and finally she found that he was dead from a snake bite. Poisonous snake had bitten him and he had died. She was overcome with grief. She cried and she cried and she cried, but nothing would happen. So she got no choice. Before go home, go back to the village, there's nothing there for her. So she decided to go back, continue her journey to her parents' home. And while she was going there was a big river, Chiravati river. The river was overflowing, it was quite full of water. Now how is she going? She's pregnant. She got, by the time she also delivered, while waiting for the husband, she also delivered her baby. Now she got a newborn child, she got one child, and then she is very weak. She has to cross this river. So what she decided, women are very resourceful, very clever one. So she said, how am I going to cross this river? So she told the elder one, you stand on this side, I go over, and she put the newborn baby on a rock on the other side. Then she came back to get the elder one. While she was halfway in the river, one hawk, hawk, the big bird, he saw this fly, he saw, got something nice there to eat. So he flew down and he wanted to eat take away the baby. Because baby is very small. Then the mother was shouting at the bird, trying to scare the bird. While she was trying to, waving here, the elder one thought the mother is calling her, so he walked into the river. And of course, as he walked into now she has to take care of this one, and she's shouting at this one, don't come, and this one, go. And then the elder one was swept away by the water, the younger one was taken away by the bird. What did happen to her? More dukkha for her, right? Imagine a mother losing husband and 2 children on one day itself. So she was literally like going crazy. In her weakened state, she continued her journey. Human life is like that. So she continued, and while she was approaching the city of Savatthi, where her parents were staying, she inquired, there was somebody coming in front, and she asked, brother, can you tell me about this particular family? How are they doing? And they said, last night, a few days ago, there was a terrible rain for so long. Many houses were swept away in the flood, and this particular family, the whole family swept away, and they just finished their cremation. Now, how many mother, father, husband, children, all gone already. One shot, all gone. Can you imagine the mental torture? She was so crazy, she just tore her clothes off, and then she started screaming and running in the streets. Mentally extreme mental illness and stress for her. And again, the Buddha saw her in the vision, and people brought her to the monastery. And then with the Buddha's guidance, talking to her, and the Buddha said, sister, you know, in all your existences, you have cried so much of tears for your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your husband, your wife, your children, again and again and again, life after life after life after life. Aeons of tears you have shed, and then you are still crying. All the tears you shed cannot fall, so touch, you know, you still crying. And this woke her up, you know, Sutta. The Buddha spoke this sutta, and she kind of woke up, and then she became a nun. After that, people gave her clothes, and then she became a nun, and she overcame her mental stress, and she became also a noble one. So this is a few, two case study. We can also examine our own lives. I'm sure in our lives, many times in our life, we have a lot of stress and mental illness that comes our way. So again, the Buddha also, how do we overcome this kind of mental illness? How? We can easily go to today, you can go to a psychiatrist, you can go to a psychologist and so on, and we can take medicine, but we must explore what is going on around us and being in the present moment to see. So the Buddha taught this very pertinent sutta. It is called the Sambhavasa Sutta. And in this sutta, the Buddha gave 7 ways in which, if we are facing mental stress, mental takanan, we call it, or we are facing a lot of difficulty within ourselves, we can actually use these 7 methods to help us to overcome some of the mental, not illness, the mental stress that we are facing. So today we let us learn about this, ways that in which that we can overcome. And how do we do it is by not saying, I want to be well, I want to get better, how do I get better? It's not by thinking about it, we cannot do. So we must train the mind, we got to develop the mind, we got to tame the mind, we got to purify the mind. You cannot see the mind, but it is within us. So the Buddha said there is this 4 deep rooted, it's very, very deep within us, and it's very hard to see. The first is impurities, the Buddha called, or taints. In English we call it taints, T-A-I-N-T-S, taints, or impurities. The first one, these taints, they obstruct our awakening. They actually block our awakening or our realization. So the first is sensuality. We are constantly bombarded with sensual desires in our daily life, of food. We want entertainment. Now we have YouTube, gaming, TikTok, whatever you call it. Everything is so sensual now. So we desire to go. How many of us are sitting here listening to Dhamma? If you go to the shopping center, there are, I think, 100 times you are in one shopping center today, because they're enjoying sensual desires. But maybe very few take the trouble to come and hear this teaching that can help them. So sensuality comes in many ways. People will be probably having their dim sum now, enjoying Mother's Day. Sure, all the restaurant full, right? Yesterday full, today full, tonight also full. Because people enjoy that. It's nothing wrong, it's nothing wrong having sensual pleasures and all that. But again, you have to be moderate in what we do. So this is a very deep one, sensuality. Then the second thing, because of this sensual desire, you know what? We want to die, it's so difficult to die. It's not easy, I want to die. Cannot, right? So the Buddha said, this because of this sensual desire. Even to die is very difficult now. You see, old people, you think they're very old, you think they want to go. They still want to hang on, and then say, oh, my grandchildren, what will happen to them? Oh, my children, what will happen to them? Oh, my property, what is going to happen? Still very hard to go. And there is this views. We have a lot of views. We got this view, that view, upper view, all kind of views we have. And because of these views, this hold us back in our realization. We don't allow these things to just step aside, and then the mind opens up. This morning while we were doing meditation, Brother Tom led us in meditation for about, I think, 10 minutes, but it looked like 10 hours. It felt like 10 hours. To those of us who are not used to sitting, it's like, when is this bell going to ring? Because we don't want this, this kind of thing. We want something better than this. So this is the views we have, and ignorance. Ignorance means not knowing the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. The Buddha said, once we know these Four Noble Truths, there is dukkha in our life, there is the cause, and then how do we overcome it and walk in the path. So this ignorance is also one of the ways that we are still keeping our journey in samsara happily going around, happily and unhappily going around in samsara existence. So, and these four. So the Buddha said in this Sabbhavasa Sutta, the Buddha taught us these 7 ways that we can help ourselves to be in the present moment and to remove it. So the first of these is to eradicate our impurities. So the first is, the Buddha said, by seeing. How do you see? Not with the mata, not with the mata, but with our inner eye, wisdom, the eye of wisdom. When we see these things that bring about eradication of our impurities, the Buddha said, this way you can overcome by seeing sense desire, and ignorance is slowly abandoned. We do not dwell in the past or in the future. Sometimes we go back to the past. You know, my life like that, last time like this, like that. You know, I was like this, like that. Now look at me. I married this fellow already. My life so terrible already. If I'm like this, like that. So future, I hope to be like that. So we are either in the past or in the future. And then, one of the ways we can overcome wisdom is by reflecting on the Four Noble Truths. Let's say we are facing difficulty, dukkha in our lives. Then we see, oh, now I am actually experiencing that noble truth that the Buddha taught us. So for example, if someone in our lives, I met someone, I think during the Buddha day, I was in the exhibition room, so someone came to me and said, their friend is having, I think, end-stage cancer. And this is a very good friend of that person who is having cancer. And she already, friend having cancer, she having mental sickness, mental stress, you know. She's so stressed that her friend is already on the verge, don't know when she cannot accept, but she said her friend accept already. So you can see someone else is sick, but you are facing the mental torture and the idea that you will not be able to see your friend, she will depart soon, but don't know when. I feel so sad for her. I want to cry. And then she sit and meditate, but the mind is so troubled, so many things are happening. So you can see that if we reflect and say, now the Buddha said, what is the cause of dukkha? The Buddha said, it is being born. Once you're born, you will grow old. Grow old, you know. Walk up the staircase also difficult, meal also difficult. Everything is difficult as you grow old. Then you get sick. The Buddha said, we will get sick one day. If you don't die of old age, you will die of sickness. It's either this or that. Either you die of sickness or you die of old age or some other condition. So, we have to reflect wisely. So the Buddha said, seeing things with wisdom. Yeah? So, in our lives, this thing we can do for ourselves. Sometimes we reflect wisely. The Buddha said, yoniso manasikara. Wisely reflect. I am now facing this dukkha. When my husband was very sick, within a span of only 4 months, he was already gone already. It's like, what happened? I'm thinking, actually what happened? I also cannot, like Actually, what happened? Everything is so fast, and before we know it, it's all over. It's like you got no time to actually understand what is going on. And then only after that, I learned the Dhamma. There's a lot of suffering going on, dukkha. And once I heard the Dhamma, then the Buddha said, I can hear the Buddha's voice saying, you are facing dukkha now. You have to know that, and then you can overcome. So reflect wisely. Before it happened, we already know. After it happened, and you know, you keep on until people can become very stressed, especially when loved ones get, ill, or they pass away in very unfortunate circumstances. Like until today, MH17, MH370 or whatever, the family still cannot accept, many of them, because they never see anybody, At least our loved one die, we bury them, right? Because something physical to bury them. MH370, nothing one. They keep on telling you, don't know what happened, so you don't know whether they are alive or whether they are dead. Because you didn't physically bury them, so that mentally they cannot accept it. Until today, they cannot accept that this person is, because we don't know. So the Buddha said we can reflect wisely, using our wisdom, we see. The second way the Buddha said is we can help remove our stress and our taints is by restraining. I think this is a little bit more easier. So the first one you see is what? What is the first picture? Nose. Then the second one is touching. Then our mouth, tasting. Then hearing. Then seeing. So these are the 5 sense doors through which we experience the outer world. Your mouth can see or not? Can your mouth see? Can your nose eat? Can your hands smell? Cannot, right? You see, every one of these senses, your eye door, your nose door, your hearing door, all these only got one function. Eye can only see, nose can only smell, mouth can only taste. So these are all just doors only through which we experience the outer world. If I close my eye, I cannot see any of you. I don't experience seeing any of you. Yeah? So when we see, the Buddha said we restrain. Let's say you see something very lustful. People like to surf pornographic websites and get into trouble because of that. So we know this thing is not wholesome, so we restrain ourselves. If we hear people saying unkind things or boss scold us, we are hearing. So what arises in us is aversion. So we restrain any kind of, our speech must be protected now. We must immediately bring our mind to the present moment and then we protect. Let's say we want to talk back and argue and use unwholesome words that we may regret later. Then we restrain ourselves by, if we, seafood. Sometimes seafood, I don't know which one to eat. Everything also eat the plate very full, after that only eat half, the other half throw away. So we restrain ourselves in the present moment. When we are present, we say, I only take this much only. If I am not full, I can take some more. Rather than take everything put on the plate, then you cannot finish anything. So we restrain by our eye, whatever we see. I have a friend, the daughter got divorced because I saw her taking care of the grandchildren. I said, why your grandchildren always with you? One way I never see the father. She said, oh, my daughter divorced. It's only after a few years, the child is already born. I said, what happened? Why, sister, what happened? Because the husband every day come back from work, he never do anything except play game. Come back until he sleep, he play game. So the wife get very irritated, Imagine, brother, you help in the house around, wash dishes. Never help with anything, throw rubbish also, don't want, taking care of children. Whole day play the game only. And then not only that, when the wife say hello, my darling, can you please help? then he get very angry and he started abusing the wife, manhandling the wife, because this what you call sense pleasure is already, how to say, addicted to it, so he cannot think of anything else. So one of the ways we can do is restrain. We can do that, right? It's tough, but we can restrain ourselves. Yeah. Instead of watching TikTok, TikTok is like that. 1 hour you can just, correct? You see suddenly 1 hour gone, just watching TikTok alone. Gaming, all these things are wasting time. Nowadays nobody read books, yeah? How many books have you read? 1 page or so, 1 sentence or so difficult. So we can read books, restrain from all these unnecessary things, which cause us, not to say you tutup your mata and cannot hear anything. I don't hear like the monkey, see no evil, hear no evil. It's not like that. Things we have to do. But things when they go over the limit, then we must know how to restrain ourselves. Yeah, this is by bodily action. Yeah, restraining. Then we have, the Buddha said, the third way is by using. The Buddha uses the word using. Yeah? So what is this using? If when we, let's say, we got a closet full of clothes and then we still got nothing to wear, this is when we reflect wisely on our usage of things. That's why when we eat our food, usually we will sit there and we go for meditation. They will reflect on the food. This food I take not for beauty, not for pleasure, but for the well-being of this body. With this food, may I continue to grow in wisdom. I don't eat this food to become fat or to enjoy. Sometimes you go to the shop, you order all the dishes, and then after that cannot eat. And then sometimes we taste, I've seen people, they eat a little bit, they say, yeah, not nice, this food. There's one whole plate full of food, but they say not nice, they just put it aside, they don't want to eat anymore. So, if you give that to a hungry man, he would have finished it all. So, we have to be restrained and we have to use it wisely. Everything we use, even our clothes that we use, it is not to show. Nowadays, the less they wear, they say very nice. You go for fashion show, totally nothing they wear, nothing left to the imagination. But the review they write, oh, very good. And then they influence the younger people to be like that. So we dress in a way that is very modest, in moderation, and which is pleasing to the eye. So what about other material things, our homes? We go to sometimes places, I see the houses are so big, sometimes I wonder whether there are any people stay or not. The house is so absolutely as big as you can get. Then the other day I was going with somebody, he said, the people here actually competing with each other to see whose house, who can build a bigger house and a higher house. Actually there are very few people in that house. So yes, you got all the money, they can enjoy it, no problem. But after that they headache to take care of the house, they quarrel with the husband, why you never take care of the house? Nobody is in the house. So there was a family last time, they built a very beautiful house by the seaside, very nice house, only one house just in front of the beach. Beautiful house with a big lawn, many rooms. But we went to the house and there was hardly anybody there. Mother and father out looking for money to business. Children are all over the place. So the house is basically empty. Who enjoyed? The maid enjoyed. The maid enjoyed the house very much. It's a good luck, it's a good fortune for the maid to actually have a big house to enjoy some more beach front. What more can you ask for in life? So when we reflect, using our whatever that we use in our daily life, the Buddha said the things can be abandoned by using the things. We reflect wisely on how we are using it. Is there a lot of unfettered kind of pleasure that is actually we don't need to, but we overdo all these things. So sometimes even the house, you go and see the gate is so ornamental. The gate, house gate is It's a work of art. It's so beautiful the way they do the gate. Even the gate is like the king's palace. The king, never mind, not king. But it's not small house, but I've seen houses, they are low-cost houses, low cost. But the house is so beautiful. No, I said I wouldn't, if I wouldn't decorate my house in a low-cost place like that. He probably spent a few $100,000. I'd rather go and buy a house where there is a better, conditions for living. Rather it to be in a very, a place where there is so much of difficulty going around us. So it depends on how we want to use the resources that we have. So as practitioners, if we want to have that kind of confidence, stability, then we must reflect. Especially when we eat our food. Reflect, this food, who actually prepared it for us? Am I a grateful person that my mother today, when all you eat your food, you have gratefulness, all the food you ate that your mother prepared? Or just gobble it and then say, oh, thank you. So we must reflect. I think that my mother spent so much of time cleaning, washing, cooking, and then feeding us. So I have this wonderful body to survive in this world. So today we reflect on our mother's goodness, all the food that she has prepared for us. So we abandon our tastes by using. So this is the third. The fourth one, the Buddha said, is bear with patience, enduring. When we have troubles come our way, when words are spoken, when we hear ill-spoken words, when words are not welcome, somebody speaks to us words that we don't like, not welcome by us. When there is this bodily feeling arises of pain, of difficulty within us, or when there is disagreeable or distressing situations, the Buddha said, we abandon those mental torture that is going on here by enduring, being patient, forbearing. It's very difficult, but if you can endure this, then you can overcome your mental difficulties and find well-being, because the law of the universe, the Buddha said, is nothing is permanent, right? So now you're facing a lot of difficulties, but that won't last, Sooner or later, it will be over. Another thing will come. When COVID started, we all were like, when is this going to end? Some more, What? Just only finish what they call that? Forgot the word also. What movement they say? MCO. What movement was it? Movement control order. Then the second one come. Then the third one come. I know. And then we cannot go and see our loved ones. Our family is sick also, we cannot go and see. We want to go also, people don't want you to come and see them because they scared you bring the COVID to them, right? So we endure. And then now, after 3 years, the endurance, we are still alive. But some people didn't make it, Many people didn't make it, couldn't endure it anymore. There was a pilot who just jumped down from he bought a nice, beautiful condo, and he couldn't take it that he was retrenched from his job. And he happily jumped down, and he said, that's it. And now, everybody is flying back again, just within a period of 2-3 years. He could have just survived, but he couldn't bear and face the difficulty in him. So the Buddha said one of the ways we can enjoy mental well-being is by enduring. Toughen ourselves. Human condition is like that. Don't give up. Go forward. The next one the Buddha said is by avoiding. This is also quite easy. We can do. We avoid difficult people. We avoid difficult situations, difficult places, and also avoid being disrespectful. This is another important way of abandoning the things. When we are disrespectful to a place, people go to a hotel room. They leave the room as though a tornado just went through the room. When they leave the room, it is like all upside down. They don't respect. They say, I pay money, and I need no cheap, I pay $500 for this night. I got a right to do whatever I want in this room. So the whole room is like bed sheets everywhere, the towel is on the floor, this, that. Everything is in a mess. So we have to avoid being this disrespectful wherever we go. Even in a coffee shop, after we eat, we are respectful. We put back the chair, we try to clean the place. Yeah? Wherever we are respectful in every way, in any way that we can. And this actually protects our mind, adorns our mind, beautifies our mind, makes our mind so pretty. Just like a sweet sunflower, like a shining, so happy when we are respectful. And we keep away, the Buddha said, avoid unwholesome friends and unwholesome habits. Quite easy to do that, avoiding. Can, even substance abuse. A lot of people do substance abuse by associating with unwholesome friends. So when you associate with unwholesome friends, what happens? You get deeper and deeper and deeper into the habit. There was a friend of mine, his brother was a drug addict. So he even almost wanted to kill the mother, he wanted to strangle the mother because she was so tired of giving him, pleasing him by giving him money for his drug habit. One day she just got tired, and then he took a string and he wanted to strangle her. Luckily the brother came back home in time to save the mother. So that can be the addiction is so great. So if you can avoid, how do you get into these habits is when you have unwholesome friends or you go to unwholesome places. Yeah? So this is another way that we can avoid our mental illness or mental well-being is avoiding unwholesome habits, unwholesome friends, unwholesome circumstances. Thing that we can do a little bit more easily. And the Buddha said the sixth way is by removing. How do we remove? When in the mind, what do you call that? Sense thoughts of arise of cruelty or envy or anger. The moment it arises, what do? We take steps to abandon it. This thought arises, you abandon it immediately. That is being in the present moment. If you are here in the present moment, you can abandon. If you are not in the present moment, what will happen? You will feed it. The mind will keep on feeding, create more. The bubble will create bigger and bigger and bigger. But if you are in the present moment, you straight away, it will cut off that thought. So this is what we mean by removing any unwholesome states that abandon. He will not only remove them, but we must take step to like completely destroy it. Means every time it comes, you're mindful so that it will not. The moment is even before it goes to the second word or the third word, you already cut it already. You annihilate it. You remove it completely. So the Buddha said this is another way we can do by removing. And the last is the most easiest. That is by mental cultivation. And the Buddha said you get 7 factors of enlightenment, which is actually you have to go and do formal meditation, you go for retreats, every day you meditate a little while. Yesterday Bhante also was here, and Bhante also talked about mental cultivation. He said if you can sit at least 20 minutes a day, 3 times a day, that is very good. And as you go on to cultivate this mental cultivation, to bhavana. Mental cultivation is not just meditating, just sitting there, but it is also about chanting, it is about reflecting on the virtues of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, virtues of yourself. Even you can meditate on the virtues of yourself. That means if you have done any good deeds, you can actually reflect on it. What made you do that? Who brought you to the Dhamma? How did you do it? And you rejoice, not craving for it, but actually rejoicing over it. And so these are the 7 factors of enlightenment, meaning it starts with mindfulness, being in the present moment, sati. And when you are in the present moment, this is a meditation process, And what happens is when the mind becomes stable, after a while the mind becomes stable, then it will start investigating, The stable mind will start investigating mental states, and this is called Dhamma Vichaya. And when you are doing the investigation, there is this thing called effort. You have to put in the mental effort to maintain that mindfulness, to bring it to concentrated states so that you can do investigation. And when you investigate in that mindfulness, that heightened state, there's a lot of joy will arise in you. And in that joy, there will be a tranquility. It's so peaceful, it's so joyful, and then the concentration will come, and then there is equanimity, which is states of mental clarity will come to us. So this inner happiness, the Buddha said, the inner joy, inner peace is far, far greater than all the worldly happiness that we can find and enjoy in this lifetime. All the sensual pleasures that we crave for, that we look for, is not worth a cent in terms of the inner peace that you will get when you actually sit and do these 7 factors of enlightenment. So give it a try, give it a go. It's a retreat coming up. You can sign up for it after I give an announcement, right? Hope so. And so friends, let us again recap the 7. Just now we went one by one, so I will put it all into one slide for you. That is mental well-being. We can do one of the teachings of the Buddha is the Sattva-Vasa Sutta. In the Majjhima Nikaya 2, the Buddha said, seeing by restraining ourselves, by using, by enduring, by avoiding, by removing, and developing the inner peace that we all have. Yeah? So this is the 7 ways, one of the many teachings that have been given by the Buddha to maintain mental well-being. Yeah? And it's free, you know. You go for meditation, it's free. You go see psychiatrist one time, you go is $500 or $300, no mental illness. You go for meditation, it's free, and not only free, not only this lifetime, you carry it to many lifetimes. Life after life, your mind will get purer and purer and purer. Isn't it wonderful? Nice? Wow, don't wanna. This mental is okay. So friends, I will end here today, and hope every one of us can use the many opportunities that are given to us to really enjoy this mental well-being by being in the present moment. Yeah, I remember this story by Ajahn Brahma. He always liked to tell this story about the king and his 3 questions. You all know this story about the king? You know, this king had 3 questions. The king said, what is the most important time? He wanted to know, when is the most important time? That is his first question. Then the second question is, who is the most important person? And the third question is, what was the third question? What is the most important time? What is the most important thing to do? These 3 questions here. So he asked all his wise men, go around and ask. Nobody seemed to give him a satisfactory answer. So one day he met this old, simpleton, the farmer sitting there with his no clothes on. He was like, having very simple clothes, and he was sitting there and asked, what is the most important, which is the important time? Yeah, time. So he said it is what? Now. Here in the now. This is the most important time. You're here, this is the most important time. So if you're with your husband or your wife or your children, that is the most important time. If you're with your boss, with your colleagues, that is the most important. So everything is being in the present moment. You're present to that person. Yeah? And then he said, what is the most important person? The one you are with now. And with Brother Tom looking at him. It's the most important person. So anywhere, everywhere you are, that's the most important person that is happening right in now, here and now, in the present moment. And what is the most important thing to do? Is to be with that person, or be with the circumstances. I heard of a story of this person sitting on the top of a beautiful 70-story building in the bay of, Persian Gulf or something like that, looking into the beautiful sunset. People pay thousands of dollars to see the sunset on top of the tallest building. But that person was crying, sitting in a 5,000 US dollar penthouse apartment overlooking the bay, watching the beautiful sunset, yet crying because loneliness, no happiness. Circumstances beautiful, but there is no happiness. So remember to be here and the now, in the present moment, to be with the one who is with you now. And also, don't forget to take care of your own mental well-being. And I would like to end here, friends. And the Buddha gave this teaching, Dhammapada verse 200. Very easy to understand this verse. The Buddha said, indeed, we live happily, without any anxiety, greed, aversion, and ignorance. Like the Apasara Brahmas. These Apasara Brahmas, they live in a very high realm, and their body is all light, beautiful light, and they always are delighted. Because these beings that are born in these Apasara realms, they already attain certain level of jhanas, already mental purification, and they are so radiant. That's why just now I told you the Piti, Pasani, they have that kind of mental, well-being. And these beings are born in this realm called the Apasara realm, Brahma realms. And we shall live on delightful satisfaction as our food. It means every moment that we are in the present moment, we are delighting, and that delight is our food for the mind. So remember, friends, that we have ability, we have opportunity, we have the good karma, we have good health, and we have good friends surrounding us to help us with mental well-being. So I hope all of you will continue to come and learn and practice the Dhamma and be always well and happy. Sukhi Hotu.